baby.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, how's everyone doing? Well, how's the one person doing that's waiting? That's what I want to know.
Not me this time.
Yeah, so what the hell?
That was an ad for the stream.
Okay. Oh, that's an ad for the stream. Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. This is like
Honestly, that started out like an ad for something very different.
it's like Inception here as the ads playing while I'm on stream and is playing for everybody before stream. Well, that's all personalized though. Everyone will have a different ad.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody that comes in, what ad did you get before stream? I want to know.
Yeah, let's do a poll. Yeah, let's see what's out there.
Sean, are you holding the new Britney Spears book? No, I've got the Maono. Dylan, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. It's the Maono PD200X, one of the most requested microphones to review. It's $100. It was $100 Canadian dollars, so that's how good it is. It was $100 Canadian dollars, not American ones. You know what? I'm actually. This is kind of weird because I've only ever tested one other Maono product, and I actually didn't mind it. It was their USB mic. That was like shit, like 3 years ago. I tested that, and it wasn't actually that bad. It wasn't great. Like you're not gonna be. It's not a Neumann. But I mean, It also wasn't horrible. It didn't sound gross. And after doing the last one, I forget the name of the last one where the USB didn't work. I actually think if this thing sounds good, I'm going to be rather impressed. I have nothing I can do with it after I've tested it. It's literally going to sit on a shelf. But I now have a Maono PD200X. I don't know. The testing's already begun. So.
Oh boy! Now, all right, Aiden. We got to get this. The comments are getting flooded with this, so I'm going to pop it to you.
All right.
Let's get to the thing that everybody wants to hear about. How's the beard going, buddy?
It's growing back. It's growing back. It's growing back. Can it compare with the SEV7? No, dude. I haven't even plugged this thing in. I haven't even like turned it on, and I can tell you it's not going to compare to an SEV7 or an SM7 or SM58. Usually, like these microphones are all for looks and for having that SM7B kind of silhouette without actually having an SM7B. I don't think it's going to blow me away. I could be wrong though. It could end up being like the ultimate. As for Sean, no, this is not a USB microphone, my friend. This is an USB XLR microphone, and those are allowed on the channel. So this thing has both USB and XLR, as I've proven with the Rode Pod Mic, which is going to be up against this thing. The Pod Mic's going to have to take on this Challenger and see how it does. I said the word. I said the U word. Dylan, so can you see it? Can you see the shirt? Look,
I can. I can see your little breast pocket pouch logo there.
No, it's not. It's not. There's no pocket. It's just.
I know, but it's in that area.
I put the logo a little low when I was setting it up because it's hard to tell when you're on like the thing to make the shirt how high it is. So when it's in the spot it's supposed to be, it looks like it's literally at your collarbone, but apparently not because when I placed it, it's now just over my nipple. So.
There's a lot of merch shirts, like logo shirts anyway, that are like that. It's kind of in the breast area, right?
It just needs to be like an inch higher. That's it.
Yeah, I would say it is a little bit low, but like I don't think it has to be all the way up into like your collarbone area, but it should look like it's kind of just over your like your breastplate kind of.
Sean says his logos are hanging lower now too. Yeah, I know. That happens with age. This is actually I'm getting a few of these. And these are going to be the shirts I wear for videos. This is the whole reason I'm getting this. So I no longer...
If you give me one, I will wear it during the live.
Okay, no, yeah, I will get you one for sure. I'm probably going to do about 10 up and then I'll just, wear so we can wear them during videos. And I don't have to... The worst part is sometimes when I'm working in the basement, I'm literally just in pajamas. So then I've got to get changed. I've got to do this. But if I know I'm shooting a video, I can just put this on. I'm good. I don't have to worry about it. As long as one of them's clean or at least, clean enough. Because on camera, you can't tell if it stinks. This one's fine. But, this is now the when I order them, they'll have the logo in the right place. So probably spend about $200-300 on shirts. And then at any point, if somebody's like, "Hey, I want your shirt," hey, cool, I'll just give you the address that you can go to. I don't even think I don't think this is going to be a merchable product. I don't know if anyone's going to want the DC on their chest.
Yeah, I mean that's usually like if you're with the organization that the logo is for. I mean, if you wanted to sell like audience merch, you know, big logo smack dab in the middle of the shirt, that's the way to go. But
that's always I hate. See, my problem is I hate T-shirts with logos and shit on them.
You do, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. Dan, great idea for stream. I once commented on a YouTuber's tee, and they haven't worn that tee since. I've had people comment on my clothing as well. One time, so I don't have a lot of shirts. I'm like the standard guy where I have like 7 T-shirts that I wear, and that's pretty much it. And they just cycle through. So the laundry gets done, I get my shirts back, I wear them. I don't wear them in a specific order. I just, whatever's on the top of the pile, cool, that's going on me. But then I have these raggy shirts that I won't wear out in public, or at least not when I have my self-respect brimming about me. And this is common for me. So every once in a while, you'll see the same shirt, 2 videos back to back. And it's not because I'm wearing that shirt for 2 weeks straight. It's just it came up in the rotation at the right time. And then I think it was about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, it was 3 videos in a row that I had the same shirt on, and somebody was like, dude, do your laundry. And it's like, no, that's another reason I wanted these. You know? Yeah, it just made sense.
Yep, I get you.
Awesome sauce. I don't know if this is even true, but I see USB XLR mics and ask why they didn't just put all their resources into making one connector the best it can be for the price. So pick one, USB or XLR. I like the USB XLR. I like because it allows people to grow. People can just buy a mic on USB, start out, and then expand into something.
Provided the XLR sounds decent. V7.
Well, yeah. No, not MV7. Yeah, the MV7.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, that one, I think that's might be a thing of the past now, though. I think with Rode coming out with a pod mic that doesn't really sound very much different, I think we're going to see a lot more emphasis put on quality on that. What's that?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we might see a revision. I mean, I don't, if the hardware, like if they've manufactured 1,000 of them and they're all, you know,
yeah,
the XLR just doesn't sound very good. I would be interested to, like, do you have the MV7 or do you get rid of it?
My son has it. He's been using it. I can get it back whenever I need, though. Why?
I was going to say, at some point, I'd like to get it from you because I'd like to try to process it. I'd like to be like, okay, well, it sounds bad, but I mean, the SM7 naked also kind of doesn't sound great. There's people that are going to fight me on that. I know there is. But, like, you know, I would be interested to see, okay, if I muck about with this with my skill set, you know, could I get the XLR of the MV7 to sound good? Probably. It's probably possible.
The issue I had with the MV7 XLR sound was it was thin. So if you can do something with this thin sounding mic, yeah, give her. But I thought like the USB sounded nice, full. It actually had like not an SM7B profile, but it had like a tailored SM7B profile. So it sounded like somebody had done some work to an SM7B. Then you plug in the XLR and it's just thin crap, and it's like, ugh. However, it is still the same capsule that the XLR and the USB are using, so technically you should be able to get the same sound out of both with some XLR tailoring. They also have the program that you can get with it. I forget what Shure calls their program, Motive or something, that you can work the profile of the mic. I reviewed it without that, and I've gotten a lot of flack for that over the years because I did the same thing with the Elgato Wave microphone, but a microphone should be based on how it sounds, not how it sounds after processing, no?
It should be, but I would say, I mean, the mic is packaged with the software. The mic as a product is intended to be used with the software. So I would say if you're going to give it a fair shake, you should kind of use the product as intended.
The Shure, yes, I'll give you that. The Shure MV7, yes, it should because it is packaged. The Wave XLR is not. You have to buy I believe you have to buy the interface
Oh yeah, so in that case, no.
Yeah.
Then absolutely use the mic just naked with whatever the mic comes with, free of charge.
Yeah,
that is
and I actually got hammered for that. I think it was today or recently, where somebody was like, "Why does this guy not? I don't know why this guy doesn't like talk about how it sounds with." It's like, because you don't get it with it. I'm not buying into the ecosystem to review everything, so I don't know. And you disappeared on me again.
I disappeared.
You're back. Oh, you're gone.
What's going on?
There you are.
What is happening? My thing isn't changing.
That is so weird, dude.
What is going on?
Does your internet suck?
Not generally. Let me turn my video off and back on and see if that helps. Probably not.
That is wild.
My back? What's happening? Oh, it got all pixely for a second.
Yeah, I got you.
You got all pixely too on the stream. It might be your internet.
Yeah, it might be mine. Who knows? Dylan is coming to us from Gaza.
Or my internet just made you look pixely on YouTube.
Stop letting your internet make me look bad, Dylan. But Sean says, I like the Shamrock shirt. Sean, you know what the problem is with a lot of the shirts I used to wear that I can't wear anymore? I lost about 40 pounds. It's not easy to see like from here up. In actually the lack of chin 3 through 7 should probably point that out. But yeah, I lost a ton of weight since March, and most of my shirts, it looks like I'm swimming in them. So I don't wear those anymore. But yeah, no, the Wave XLR is just one of those mics where I'm sorry if you don't sell it packaged with the product. I'm not. And you need the interface in order to use the Wave XLR software. But I didn't buy the interface because I have no interest in doing so. I just saw that everybody was buying the microphone. So yeah, it gets what it gets. Sorry, buddy. Synchro swimming? Yes. That's not tonight, though. Not tonight. That's later, Sean. Other than that, though, it's been a crappy week, man. I know you probably can't talk about how crap your week was.
No, I mean, I can talk about it on the surface. So this week and by we, I mean the company I work for, not me personally, we switched off a radio station. That's tough. And it is Ottawa's oldest radio station.
Oh, wow, eh?
Yeah. Ottawa's oldest radio station, over 100 years. That station first went on the air in 1922, one of Canada's first radio stations. Started as CKCO, then was CKOY, and then was CIWW.
Yeah.
And was recently City News Ottawa, and just for a variety of reasons, it became difficult, obviously, for them to maintain. So it was time to say goodbye. Some people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
It's tough.
That's,
you've been through similar situations. The broadcast business, this is the ugly side of it, unfortunately. Corporate.
Yep. Well, I mean, that station's struggled. I mean, we've got a leader in news in Ottawa. That station's never had an easy run.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of factors that play into it. It certainly wasn't a decision that was made lightly. And one that I don't think anybody really wanted to make, but
no, that sucks. So you've had a ton of extra work because of it, eh?
Well, I wouldn't say a ton of extra work. I mean, you got to kind of shift the steering wheel, right? You gotta pivot and do make some changes really quickly. It didn't really impact the side of the business that I'm on a ton. But there definitely was there's a ripple effect. Any major decision like that, there has to be.
Yeah, it all shit rolls downhill. Sean says Bell shuttered and sold even more in recent weeks. I didn't know Bell's still shut. I am so far removed from the broadcast industry right now. I'm not in the goings on. Do I want to be? Probably not. I'm seeing I see a lot of this stuff, and you see the heartbreak of people that have been relying on the checks. And this isn't talking out about the companies or anything, because I have no interest in doing that. It's a business model that we all buy into, and we all understand when we get into it, that you know that at some point somebody's going to hand you a pink slip and you get to walk out. It's not hidden, right? We all know it's coming. We all know it's part of the job.
And it's so common these days because, I mean, realistically, radio radio is a format, is a platform that struggles in this day and age. It's not struggling as much as some people would like you to believe, but there are challenges that maybe weren't so prevalent 40 years ago.
Before the internet is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. It sucks. Anyways, yeah, I've had a rough week too. I haven't stopped working this week.
I should also mention I have not lost my job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have. I'm still involved in things.
But podcast version. That's a fascinating thing. Sean brings up somebody started a podcast version of his show since Course knocked him off in Hamilton. Hey, Nuno.
That to me, that is what I would say to any talent that have a marketable product that they can come away with.
Yeah.
Podcasting is, as you know, Aiden, and as well as I know, is the way of the future. I mean, companies that own podcasting divisions are allocating tons of headcount and resources to podcast development. Like, podcasts are kind of where it's at, which is funny to me because I don't listen to podcasts.
Well, I
don't listen to podcasts, but I'm starting because it is getting to be important.
It's so hard, though. A lot of people, and I actually went on a podcast to talk about this about a month back, is broadcasters don't understand podcasting and what makes a good podcast. It's the same as podcasters don't understand YouTube. Like, they just don't. There's this disconnect when it comes to that. And one of the things I started pushing when I was teaching the podcasting courses, there's no such thing as podcasters, broadcasters, any of that. Everyone's content creators. Dividing yourself up as a podcast, broadcast, YouTuber, it doesn't make any sense. We're all content creators. And if you look at it as content per platform, so different content works well on different platforms. That's just how it is, because platforms have different age groups that really are drawn to it. So like this channel doesn't, I think I get maybe 0.5% traffic from 13 to 17 year olds on this channel. It's just nobody's watching this channel. However, my median age, I believe, is about 37. Right? So then if I try to take that same content and put it on Instagram, it doesn't do as well. If I put it on TikTok, it dies a horrible death because the people that are watching it are... Anyways, the whole point of that is when you leave broadcast and you go to start a podcast, it's really, really, really important that you attack the people that you really wanted to listen to your show. So you want to go after the people that were listening to your show. And I think it's really easy to fall into this trap of like doing what other podcasters are doing when they're hitting a completely different demographic than you. And yeah, I don't know. It's tough, man. Coming off of radio and going into a podcast, I don't wish it on anyone because there's a big learning curve when you come off.
Well, and it's a different format. Even like I just had a course recently through work on podcast ad creation. And that is a whole other world because they talk about how radio is broad strokes, loud and proud, baby. That is what radio advertising is all about. Loud, obnoxious, cutting through the noise. That is radio advertising in a nutshell. A podcast advertising is different. It's conversational. It's not as intrusive. It's more intimate because in a podcast situation, you're hyper targeting, right? You are placing your product in front of content that is hyper relevant to what you're selling. Here. So you know you're getting an audience that this applies to. What are you saying?
Here, I'm gonna play something for you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard a more radio podcast intro than that one?
I heard nothing.
You didn't hear any of that?
They probably did because they don't have echo cancellation on Discord.
So the Steve Dangle Podcast Network is produced by a radio producer.
Can you like send it to me on Facebook Messenger because then I can listen to it.
Here, I'll send you a link to it. It's produced by a radio producer. So it's one of those things that you. How do you copy URL? There we go.
Well, and even like one of the biggest kind of points of contention has been sort of radio normalization versus podcast normalization, because those are very different things.
Right. Oh, sorry, Mr. Awesome Sauce. If I hurt anybody's ears, I apologize. I'll have to go bring that in.
Yeah, they probably heard it clear as day, but
I didn't hear it. It wasn't that loud in my in my headphones, so I'm surprised. But it's really, when you hear it, you're gonna understand exactly how intense that. This is one of those rare podcasts that gets through, though, because they're talking about Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, yeah, sports stuff is obnoxious anyway. I
right?
mean, like that's the format, right? Like I've produced imaging for sports stuff before, and it is very like, well, energy, man. It's energy. That's sports advertising. It's all about the hype.
George, thank you for the super chat, brother. I listen to podcasts, no radio. I need the flexibility to listen when I can. Yeah, you know what? I mean,
there's that.
Good radio. Good radio, you don't have to worry about that. Depending on what the radio is, like if you're listening to talk shows and stuff like that, yeah, agreed. Sports podcasts will always be better than radio sports broadcasting. Easy, like 110%. But if you're in there for content that just kind of lifts you out of the hellhole that is your life, that's what radio is there to do. And this is actually something that was taught to us. Your job when you're on the radio is to lift people out of the hellhole that is their commute to work, to lift them out of the hellhole of realizing they're going to work at a job they hate. It's they're driving home from work to go home to an empty apartment, or they're driving home. So you're basically like trying to make people forget their life sucks. And like it could be like a morning show host. Your job is to make sure people know that they can be awake and it's okay. You're more awake than they are and you're there for them. And that's something that when you encompass that as a radio host or as a radio property, you actually can create compelling content without being hyper fixated on like, if you miss any of this, you're fucked, right? And good radio does that really, really, really well, I gotta say. DJ Play Nice in my radio days, I never had a listener call me to tell me I blew out their eardrums. Sorry. I used to love baseball on the radio. Baseball on the radio is still, it's not in Ottawa anymore, I don't think, because, sorry, fresh wounds. Baseball radio is awesome. Hockey on the radio is awesome too. If you are a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, you'll know this. Holy Mackinac is the call heard around the world. Just joining the stream. Did we just drop into an Office Space movie? Kinda. Hey, Camille, how's it going? Everyone, just in case this is the shirt I got. It's got my logo. This side, okay. Ha! It's on my nipple though, so more shirts to come. We're gonna start to be carrying shirts for presentation purposes. So I'm gonna get Dylan a couple shirts. You get to choose your color, dude.
Sweet.
You get to choose your color.
That's a thing. That's awesome.
X-rated. My nipple is not X-rated because it's a man's nipple. That's how it works.
It's a nipple.
Saturday Husker games still sound like 70s to my Gen X ears. You know what? There's something relaxing and comforting about sports on the radio.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you mention that. Like, I'm like one of the things that we took super seriously is obviously Jays, right? Toronto Blue Jays. Because it Rogers owns TBJ. So it's and it's so much so that we actually had a separate virtual sort of station created in the automation environment specifically for Jay's coverage.
Wow.
We took Jay seriously, and I remember just even before working for this cluster, like tuning into Jay's baseball, and that was just such a cool, like we'd be out on the back deck, having some brew, listening to Jay's to a Jay's game. That was something was so nostalgic about that for some reason, and I didn't grow up with it, but it felt I don't know, it was neat.
There's a weird nostalgia and comfort. It's hard to explain. I used to listen to it when I was doing runs with Prax Air from Toronto to Sarnia. So it's kind of one of those, like, I don't know. I didn't listen to it growing up. I always watched TV as well. By the way, are you Canadians going into hibernation? No, I don't hibernate. Some of us do, actually. There's a good portion of people that literally, like, you don't see them until spring. They'll just hole up. They'll go to work. They'll come home. They'll stay home. I like to be that person. I like to be the person that's not out and about, out and about. But I am kind of dragged out being a family man and all that stuff. And we're supposed to have friends and blah.
We're supposed to have friends.
The weather is weird. Edmonton's getting snow, but we should 20 degrees in Hamilton. Yeah, it was a warm day in Ottawa as well. Canada is very, very different. It's much like Europe, where you go country to country in Canada, which is like what 3 times the size of Europe, if not more. It's got a lot of variety in the kind of temperatures you can get in the middle of winter. I lived in Edmonton in January when we were getting like plus 20 degree weather. Then I've lived in Thunder Bay, which got minus 40. So yeah, it would be 2 weeks in February every year that would just be unlivable. And I remember my battery died in my car, and I just like, fuck it, I'm not going out. I am just not going anywhere until the cold is done. And I waited it out, and I went and bought a battery after. Oh no, it was my alternator. This was back in the 90s when you could replace your own alternator. And yeah, I just didn't go out anymore. It was fantastic. Sean says, Dylan, I work at the campus. I'm not exactly sure what that means.
No idea.
Steve says, when watching baseball on the TV, I would turn down the sound and listen to it on the radio. I used to do that until they started having delay feeds.
Oh, shit.
What?
Like one TRW, OMP, like that campus? Oh, well, wait.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. Holy shit. I did not know that. I am not. But I know where that is. And I've been there many times.
Oh, as Grandmasters of Sound, can you also give your opinion about the Yamaha DM3? Dante. Yamaha DM3. Oh, that's just their standard mixer.
Oh, I just found Sean and the gal. That's funny. Ha! I did not know that. I'm not going to dox you, Sean, but that is interesting. I did not know that.
So the DM3, that's the one we were looking at the other day. That was, like a month ago, and that's the one that's kind of come out. It's kind of like a Mackie on steroids. And I was like, I should reach out to Yamaha to see if I can get one of these.
Yeah, you started telling me about a thing that we got to talk about after the stream too.
Oh yeah. No, I don't think it's gonna happen.
I'm gonna call you back, and then things just go crazy.
Yeah. No, that's cool. The DM3 digital mixing console looks awesome. Honestly, if you're into having your hands on everything, it looks like just a much more expensive version of the DLZ Creator. It's 22 channel digital mixing with 8 faders. Are all those faders addressable as XLR? Let's find out. Oh yes, they are. So that's 8 XLRs in, 4 outs. Damn. It's a nice unit. I remember we looked at this about a month ago. I was like, damn, I want one of those. And then I completely went and forgot about it because it's a Yamaha, and Yamaha really doesn't do much outside of the live space. Which, I mean, I guess I should have expected, because even Mackie was kind of like that as well. I was off the last 3 days, so when you said your radio station closed, I did a Google search to see if anything else was impacted. I guess I'm still going to work tomorrow. Yeah, I think it was just the Ottawa station. Ottawa.
Yeah. No, nothing else at this point has been affected. So,
Sean, the Ottawa radio market is one of the most unique flowers you will ever meet in your life. We have.
No, I often talk about this, about stuff, how things that work great in other markets, like formats, brands, vibes that work amazing in other markets, just seem to just not work well in Ottawa. I don't know what is up with the people here.
We're a weird sort.
Different animal.
Camille brings up an interesting one. The DM3 does not have auto mix. That's a bit strange. Camille, when you look at the DM3 being at the price point, this is in Canadian, I think, $2,815. The DM3 standard is $2,300. At that price point, and this isn't, a lot of people are going to call me elitist for this, but at that price point, an auto mixer would be insulting for most users. Most people who are spending $2,300 on an interface don't need to auto mix. They will handle their own mixes. Thank you very much. And that's not meant to be an insult to people who require auto mix. But if you don't understand mixing, and you're willing to drop $2,300 on a mixer, you should probably back up and practice on a Mackie or something else. And that's usually why. I was actually surprised Mackie has the auto mix, but that's also because this is really geared at podcasters and stuff like that. So, and streamers and people that might be walking into this and go, I want this gigantic thing on my desk and I want to just hit a button and make it work. So I would be surprised if the DM3 by Yamaha, which Yamaha is not known for, like, they're not known for peddling easy to use products. They're mostly live mixers, if I recall. They don't even really have any interface mixers. I don't think anyways, do they?
Not that I've seen.
No, so I think they're all live. So I don't think they're not tailored to anybody that has no idea how to mix. So that's probably why. Sean, I absolutely love Ottawa and always imagined moving there for work. Yeah, it's nice in theory. I love Ottawa as well.
It's nice in theory.
There's a lot of quirks. I won't get into it on the stream.
No, you're right. And I didn't notice most of them until I moved away
and
came back.
Yeah.
When I lived here growing up, I was more or less oblivious. And then I lived in London, Ontario for a number of years, which is closer to Sean Webb's neck of the woods. And I saw just this blissful life that everybody in London was living. Meanwhile, Ottawa people are just losing their minds over something.
The dumbest shit. It's odd. SR375, they make great brass instruments, pianos, and motorcycles. Not a fan of their live gear. Yeah, Yamaha is one of those companies that you can buy a motorcycle or an interface or a piano or... I've never really used their live gear. I've never really dropped in. I've owned a Yamaha guitar at one time, which was actually a really decent guitar. But I've never really dipped into their live stuff at all because I've never really needed it. I've used some live gear, but it was always a Mackie. Like every time I've mixed a live session, it's always been with Mackie gear. So I don't know. Last week, I noticed during the JKL hits, they started plugging the 24-hour news service rather than the radio website for more news. Interesting. Other Yamahas has Duncan. I'm not sure what that means. We call it fake London. Yeah, I'd say that. I'd say fake London. London, Ontario is actually quite nice. I enjoy London, Ontario. Just going to London, UK, I actually quite enjoyed that as well. A lot more fish and chips than London, Ontario. It's inside baseball. I've no idea. There's a lot of conversations going on right now at the time. It's really hard to keep up with when people are cross-talking to everybody. I know what
he's talking about.
But I think, like with the whole idea of going podcasting from broadcast, to circle back to that, this is something that I really would love to see more broadcasters dipping their toe. When I say broadcasters, I don't mean the old ones, because the old broadcasters really struggle with podcasting as a concept. But I would love to see more broadcasting people that are competent with broadcast rules as podcasters. I think there's a lot of people that they lack that understanding of broadcast concepts, and that's usually why their podcast doesn't really get off the floor. So it'd be nice to see, like I know a few people that worked at City News that would probably crush a news style podcast or something of that ilk. That would actually be kind of cool. If you're feeling bad, keep in mind that I originally studied newspaper, magazine, print journalism.
Oh God.
Yeah.
My condolences. It's funny. This is a fresh wound as old wounds. Oh, damn.
No kidding. Camille, this is actually a great question. This is something that I've been struggling with this week. Yamaha mainly for live sound. Which mixer do you recommend for the studio and small conferences? So that all comes down to how many inputs you require, Camille. Like if it's just 2-3 mics, something like that, get a Maxi Pro FX 12V3, whatever it is. They're great little mixers. They're great for studio if you're just doing a little bit of that, but you also have to take it on the road and do a quick mix. This is sad, but Rodecaster Pro is actually pretty decent in like conference settings as well. Like it's not bad. It's got the 2 outs. As long as you only need the 2 outs and stuff like that, the Rodecaster Pro doesn't do too bad. But if you want to keep costs down, the Mackie Pro FX 12 V3 is a fantastic mixer you get a lot out of it. You've got the effects, you've got all the stuff, and you can actually get Mackie multi-track drivers now. So you can actually use it with multi-track, which is something they didn't have for the longest time. If you work in media, diversify. Red Cabin, no kidding. This is the same thing, but this is once again going back to my original point. There's no such thing as broadcasters. There's no such thing as podcasters. There's no such thing as YouTubers. They're all content creators. And when you look at it that way and you start to shape your brain around that, everybody needs to diversify. I'm not making just money off of YouTube videos. Ad revenue isn't just how I make money. Because if I did, I'd die of hunger.
In general, they do say the key to wealth in a capitalist system, which whether we like it or not is the system we operate within, is multiple sources of income. Yeah. That is well documented. So I mean, as a content creator, whether you realize it or not, you're more versatile than you think you are, most likely.
Well, and it's so interesting when you actually start to achieve a mediocre level of notoriety in any kind of media. It opens up so many more doors for you than a lot of people imagine. Like, I've been called to do voiceover stuff for people and paid for it. You know, I can apply for jobs that I had no business applying for 4 years ago. And it's just these little things that, you know, when you train yourself to operate a little kingdom of content, you have to learn how to do the sales, the marketing, the all those things, writing. Oh my God, I'm a billion times better of a writer now than I was 4 years ago, because writing is such a huge thing as a content creator. And it's, like, diversifying becomes easier and easier the further into it you get, where you're like, it's not just about getting Amazon links to diversify. You're also like I've gotten a few offers this past week. I'm mulling over. I'm refusing the one for sure, the one that I talked to Dylan about, probably because it's not going to fit the channel. It's too much. That's why I lost the weight. No, I lost the weight because I stopped eating a lot of bread, because I love bread. That was my main reason for losing weight. I've worked studio mobile and cruise ships and master control, coming originally from a print journalism program. Nice. I use my Rodecaster Pro on Zoom every day for work.
Nice.
That's an expensive audio piece of audio gear to use for Zoom. That's fantastic. I do the same thing, right?
That's like me using this RE27 for Teams calls, and this, which is basically all that it's for.
Yeah, I've seen your whole rig, man. You're running Teams calls through it. I know.
Yeah.
Duncan is a type of auto mix and other Yamaha mixers available. Interesting. I've never used. Once again, I haven't really used Yamaha. I would be surprised to see something at that price point though have an auto mix feature. Do you disagree with that, Dylan? Do you think that, like, it's not elitist to say, it's just something that most beginners aren't probably picking up a $2,500 interface, right?
$2,500?
Yeah.
Sorry, who did you say was buying?
Well, it's a Yamaha DM3 22-channel mixer, and this is the one that's got the nice big screen, and you can do all the things. And Camille's wondering what
Yamaha goes far in the professional sort of broadcast production environment.
Yes.
Yamaha, their sort of professional line products. Like, I remember back when I was budgeting or when I was trying to find a solution, the standard that had been set was a Yamaha. I forget what it was. It was a mixer, and it was like a $5,000 Yamaha. I'm like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah, they do.
And I ended up convincing them to go with the Behringer X32 instead, which is just feature set wise just way beyond what the Yamaha could offer. But I was impressed with what I was seeing with that Yamaha. I should find the model at some point.
But what I was saying though is, on something like a $2,500 Yamaha mixer, you wouldn't necessarily expect to see something like an auto mix feature that is usually pandered to people who are just starting out.
Yeah, I would say most cases I would agree. I think there are some companies that may do that because now we've got professional products like isotope products that are starting to include AI assisted features.
Yeah.
So I think some of that as a starting point is starting to make its way into the professional, more prosumer, but professional realm a little bit as well. Like I've seen some new Digico firmware for Digico's live desks, which is used by the likes of like Linkin Park, Taylor Swift, like big artists are using these boards, and they have like AI assisted sound check features and shit like that.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, and again, it's one of those things where I think these things are sort of designed to get you 90% of the way there, and then you just go in and tweak.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's sort of and for me, as a creative professional, that is kind of what I tend to use AI. I use AI to set a solid foundation if I can't come up with one in a timely manner. Like if you get a really weird spot that needs to be written for a really weird client and they want it written in a really weird way, like I don't know. And we've done this. We've done like give me a 30-second commercial on a hardware store in the style of Harry Chapin.
Yeah.
Right. And it's good. It's really good. And it's like, that is unsettling.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I would say that AI is getting better. And as AI gets better in all of the things that AI can do now, it will start to integrate more and more into some professional workflows. Like I know I've told you, Descript has saved my ass so many times.
Yeah, it's actually it's done some magic for stuff for me too.
Yeah, right. And I don't even pay for it. So full disclosure, but like it's I don't know. Their AI definitely, even in the manual human oriented creative process, AI definitely has a place.
Yeah.
If that gets out of control, I'm a little worried, but it does have a place for the moment.
Red Cabin, one of my philosophies I share with students is figure out what you love and know how to do it for everyone. Audio producing, writing, whatever. Yeah, you know what? That's part of it. I still so they just announced today. Actually, I should have told you about this. They announced it was sent to me by Marianne. Where the hell is it? They announced a pilot program to boost Canadian digital content. And it's basically if you want to work on shorts, you can get up to $20,000 from their program to do shorts. Anyways, I was talking to her because I've got a few concepts and ideas I have, but the one is that I wanted to do is how to podcast, like how to be a podcaster. The same course that I taught in college, I want to do a full video series and sell it because it's probably going to be about 20 videos. And it's going to be a fuck ton of work. And yeah, I was kind of looking at that and was like, I just don't have the time. But then I'm like, maybe I should just make time for this. This is one of those things that I keep getting. People keep calling me. They keep, hey, do you want to come on my podcast and talk about this? I'm like, no, I don't really want to come on your podcast and talk about it anymore. So I think just getting that done and getting that out would be nice, and just share that stuff with everyone, right? All those little things about how to be a content creator and make it real. Sean says, lol. My dad worked for Great Lakes Steel. If you work for a business that goes out of business, tough finding another industry that you can use your talents. Why drinking was invented. Yeah, you know what, Red Cabin, it's interesting. Even with radio, I know so many people that have been laid off in radio and media that work in supermarkets or they work in restaurants. Morning show host, I knew that he got fired and he was a waiter almost like the day after. And he's like, yeah, but we make a lot of money in tips. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Yeah, but you went from working 4 hours a day to working like 8 or 9. So yeah, it's amazing what happens, especially in media, if you don't have the skill set to do anything else. Yeah, it's horrific. Some news people tend to be the easiest to find other work because they actually have the skills. Morning show hosts that tell fart jokes.
They're ground pounders, right? I mean, that's inherent, I think, to any kind of good journalism. There's a hustle culture there.
Yep.
And so I think that lends itself really well to that sort of industrious mindset of like I can plug myself in anywhere. Just give me a chair.
Yeah. And you know what? It's the guys who sit on a morning show and tell fart jokes wonder why, it's, well, I can't find a job. Well, you've been relying on the same jokes for 20 years, man, and you don't even know how to use a console. There's a problem there. I've always said time is always available to things you find important. If you are always putting it off, it's not that important to you. I would agree with that to a certain degree, especially since I started doing this full time and I've picked up other jobs. Like I freelance basically. A good example is a week like this week where I've basically been pinned to the wall by the job that pays bills. The job has literally pinned me to the wall. I worked right up until this live stream. I threw this live stream together half an hour before we started just because there's no, like, I was going to bed thinking about editing podcasts. I was waking up thinking about editing podcasts.
Question for you, Aiden. I got like an interviewee type question on the note of that.
All right.
So like obviously you're dealing with a like we'll call it a high maintenance client scenario.
Yeah.
It's the most corporate way I could say that. So when you're in a high maintenance TLC kind of corporate client scenario, what is the worst situation? Barring this being that, excluding this situation, what is the worst situation you've been in, and how did you reconcile it?
Oh, I don't reconcile them very well. The situation I'm in right now, to be fair, is just like, he's got a big podcast and it pays the bills, and yeah, like that's just the situation. I'm small cookie crumb. And that's okay. Like that, I'm not bitter about anything. Like it's just been fucking hell for a week.
Because I think it's important to note though that this is the reality of being a freelance content creator is you get people that come across your plate that are difficult sometimes.
Yeah. And like
as a business person, you have to manage that politically.
Well, here's a good example is time-wise. So when you're working as a freelancer, and I've got a few of these people in my life where they're like, okay, well, let's do this. And I'm like, well, you don't want to be the asshole that bills for everything. But then at the same time, if we got to sit down for 3 hours, I need to bill that, man. That's 3 hours out of my time. And that's usually the situations I get into a lot is a financial thing where people think they're a little more entitled to your time. I don't handle them well. I'm not very diplomatic. I get into a lot of trouble because I don't like being taken advantage of. And if I get a whiff of it, I instantly bite back and I usually wreck relationships with it. But I've been relatively lucky. I've also kind of learned to stay the tongue for quite a bit of it with a lot of my business relationships lately. So how do I get out of them? I don't really. I usually fuck it up, to be perfectly honest. So that's...
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. But do you find it's worse now or better now? Like, are you starting to sort of turn that ship around?
Yeah, I've become a lot more liberal. And one of the biggest first things you have to do as any kind of independent is you refuse friendship. You have to, like, there's a line where you have to be like, I'm sorry, man, this is X, this is Y. Nothing in between. Yeah, we can go out for beers, but sorry, man, like when it comes time for me to hand you the bill, I don't give a fuck. And it's really hard to maintain that.
Like your time has a value to it, and how tight you think we are does not impact the value of your time. And I think people, and it's hard because I'm an empathetic guy. I have a proclivity for that, right? I have a proclivity to be like, okay, what's your budget? I'll charge you what's within your budget. But now, honestly, I'm at the point where my time comes at such a freaking premium.
Yeah.
That if the value just isn't there, I just say no.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, there are people out there that would be more than happy to do that for you for that price. But, and again, I don't charge ludicrous, right? I'm not charging $50,000 a contract. But if someone's gonna be like, hey, you want to edit my podcast for $50? I'm gonna go, no.
Well, and you know what? I mean, a lot of it is so. Like the other night, and I won't tell anybody what is. I had an offer come across my desk for paid content. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with certain paid content as long as it's not like, this is the best thing ever. You need to buy it. My paid content would be more along the lines of, look what this can do. This is kind of cool. And something came across, and no money was discussed yet. They just said that they have a smaller budget. Get back to me. Now, my idea was, okay, well, I don't have the time to be able to do that. So when I called Dylan, the first thing I said was, dude, it's money. You will get all of the money. This is what I will need you to do. And that's just because I respect Dylan's time enough to, like, if I'm going to expect him to do this, here's the money for it. There's no...
To say there was a time, like, you remember the time of the DTC days, the Double Team Creative.
Yeah. Where you'll take it.
We were, our time, both of us, and the other partner that was involved as well, Brian. None of our time was really at a massive premium, so we could afford to take gambles and try different things. And like, I know I helped you out with a variety of just little one-off weird little things, just for nothing, because why not?
Yep.
But yeah, I think now for both of us, it's like if either of us are engaging either of us in anything, there better be some kind of value attached to it, either monetary value or like, hey, here's a thing, you get it if we do this thing.
Yeah, and even with between us, like, if you give me something, you're like, hey, could you do this? I'd do it without expecting money. But if you come to me and say, I need this tomorrow morning, Dylan, we're going to need to talk about money. That's why when I'm like, if there's any kind of a like deadline on something, I'm going to lead with money, because that's not, I would be taking time away from you. That is money for you, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, it's just been an interesting switch in dealing with people and trying to keep pockets full and time clear. One of the SR375, God, 3 hours unfilled. Yeah, time-wise, and this is the thing, I have a problem with switching tasks. So when I'm done a big project, I actually have to exhale and I have to like swap and not be doing that for a few minutes and then come back to it. And I've gotten so good recently at being able to swap and just keep going that yesterday I went, woke up, edited, finished that up, started a script for a video. My kid got home from school. I had to pick them up from school, took them to Synchro, went to Starbucks, edited more for 2.5 hours in a Starbucks, picked my kid up from Synchro, drove home, had a quick bite, and edited until 11 o'clock at night. That was literally my whole day yesterday. And that's been all week this week. And it's just, those are the kinds of days where you're like, whew, an extra 3 hours. If I have to hand somebody 3 hours of my free time, I'm probably going to snap at that point. And I'm used to, this sounds really lazy and soft. I'm used to having a day off during the week. I'm used to taking Friday off because those days I usually work until 11 p.m. Most of the time I wait till my wife to leave the house. I wait till she leaves the house. Then I go straight to work. And I stop for my kid. I stop for dinner, and that's it. And then the rest of the time is just in this constant grind. I think that's the reality of a lot of content creators. Like, content creation can get you a lot of money, but and I do think though that we should have, I shouldn't say entitled, but that I think a healthy dosage would be a 1 day a week to sort of decompress, recharge, process, and then hit the ground again. I don't like that this hustle culture kind of frowns upon rest. It's like, well, rest is after you sign $1 million contract. Yeah. It's like, or it's what you do after you've worked 60 hours straight, basically. Yeah. By the way, you're pinning your limiter. Just so you know.
That's funny because the mic is further away than it's ever been from my mouth.
Yeah, I don't know how you're pinning the limiter, but you are.
Pin it. Oh yeah, I am. Look at that, eh? Shit.
Yeah.
It's got a little blue, like the meters are green and yellow and red, but when it hits the limiter, there's a little blue light that goes on, and I can just see it just wailing.
Oh yeah,
I'm talking loud.
Yeah, you distort pretty big. That's fantastic. That said, it is 6 o'clock. I'm actually going to go and sit down and not stare at a fucking screen for a few minutes.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, that's going to be my day. I appreciate everybody coming out and hearing me complain for 2 hours or an hour. Yeah, that was kind of fun. Next week, I do plan on having more questions to be answered. I literally didn't even have a chance to go and fish for some, so we'll get that started back up next week.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, this week, it's been that fun, man. But have yourself a great rest of your week, guys. We'll see you nice and early next Friday, 5:30, 5 o'clock, same time. Bye.
Go.